And did you get the message as me agreeing?
Yep.
Yeah, I got the message too.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, sorry. And I wish everyone finds this webinar very helpful for their biggest purchase of their life. And before we start, I would like to ask everyone to put their microphones on mute, please, that we do not have any interruptions in the middle. And let's start. So I would like to go to the panel. There are 5 experts here today in this webinar. They are all experts in the field of house buying. And you can see the pictures right now. And these 5 people are here to give you some tips and advice on buying a home in Canada. And also there are 3 other friends, including me, to share our experiences of buying a house recently, which can make this webinar more tangible and understandable for you. Then this is the agenda of this webinar. The first 35 minutes is about our experts giving you tips and advices, and you may come up with some questions during this time. I would like to ask you to write down your questions that you can ask these questions at the end of this webinar, because we will have the opportunity to answer them. After this 35 minutes, we will have some fun. We're gonna play some game and answer some questions to see how much you've learned from this webinar. And you need to have your smartphones or your tablets with you. After that, we will have some 2 other friends with me sharing our experiences and answering some questions to help you more about this process. And at the end, we will have the question and answers, in which you can ask your questions, and we will be helpful to answer. So this is the agenda. And I would like to introduce Jan, who's here, one of the panels, one of the experts. He's been an English teacher, and he's the founder of Right Start Newcomer Services, which is an organization to help newcomers to Canada to get the information they need to settle down and also learn English when they arrive here. And I would like to ask him to start his speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercedeh. So I'm really happy to be here tonight. Thank you to Shane for setting this up, and thank you to everybody for attending. So Mercedeh sort of built me up in a way that I'm a housing expert, but I'm really not. I'm more of an English language expert and expert in settlement related stuff. So my role tonight is to talk about 10 words or 10 terms that you need to know when buying a home. So we're going to go over those words, because there are a lot of terms that you need to know. When you get into the home buying process, words are going to come left and right, and it's really important to know them. Of course, there are more than 10 important words, but I tried to choose 10 that you might not know that might be really important for learning when you go to buy a house in Canada. So before we start that, actually, I was going to get you to brainstorm a few words around buying a home in Canada. So don't look at the slide. Shane, can you go back a slide, actually? Okay, so what comes to your head when you think about buying a house in Canada? So what words in English pop up? Put them into the comments section, and we'll see how many we can come up with. Let's try to get at least 10 or 15 words from you guys before we go over the words that I came up with. Closing price. Okay, Mohammed, that's a great one. Mortgage. Great, Mercedeh. Credit score. Debt. I think you saw my slide, Salwa. Okay, repayment plan. Okay, credit score. Doable. Is it doable? Okay, great. Interest rate. Awesome. Bidding. That's a good one, Suman. Full-time job. Yes, they will ask you if you have a full-time job before you can qualify for a mortgage. Okay, let's try and get a couple more because our time is short. 5. Oh, mortgage. Okay, great. How about 1 or 2 more? And then we'll move on to the words I came up with. Seller's market. Appy. Okay. Is that the Appy I know? Great. Yeah, it is a seller's market. Down pay. Close, Sanam. So we'll come up with that word. Down payment, principal, property tax, debit, debt service ratio. Oh, that's a good one. Unmi. Installments. Okay, great. Sounds like you guys already know a ton of words related to buying a home. So that's awesome. let's go to the next slide, Shane, and we'll go through the words that we came up with here. Okay, so the first word that I thought was really important to know is debt. Notice that the B is silent. We don't say debit, it's debt. So debt refers to money that you borrow. So could be credit card debt, mortgage debt, student loan debt. It's all part of your debt. And that's something that the bank or lender will look at. How much money do you have in debt? How much do you owe? The next word is credit score. Also very important when you're going to qualify for a mortgage. So your credit score is just a number that gives an overview of your history of borrowing and then repaying that money. So it's always better to have a good credit score versus a bad credit score. And I think someone will discuss what a good credit score is later. The next word is mortgage. So a mortgage is a loan used to buy a home or land, and that may come from a bank or another lender. So it's just a different word that we use instead of loan that is specifically for land or a building. The next one is principal. So someone wrote that in the comments section. The principal is the amount that you borrow that goes towards buying the home, okay? It's a little bit different from the next word. The next word is interest. Interest is what you owe to the bank or lender. Basically, interest is the cost of borrowing money. And interest rate is also very important. So that is the percentage that you have to pay on the amount that you borrow. Okay, Shane, let's go to the next one. Okay, the next word is down payment. Someone else wrote that in the comments section. So it's very important to have a down payment when you buy a home in Canada. So that is the amount that you have saved that you pay upfront towards the purchase of a home. And someone will discuss that later, but in Canada, it's at least 5% of the value of the home. The next word is a good one, amortization period. So this is the actual amount of time that you will have borrowed the money and you will be paying it back to the lender. So over a period of say 20, 25 years, you will be paying off your mortgage. The next term is mortgage term. So this is different from the amortization period. So the amortization period is the full amount that you have to pay back the mortgage. The mortgage term is a shorter period, usually something like 6 months to 10 years. That is when your interest rate will be fixed and the options around your mortgage will be fixed for that shorter period of time. Number 9 is condo or condominium. So in Canada, we usually call like an apartment that you own a condo or condominium. So this is a type of home where you own the unit, but you share some things with the other condo owners, like the hallways, the driveway, the common areas, things like that. And then finally, closing costs. So these are other costs related to purchasing a home. So things like fees, maybe land transfer tax, legal fees, maybe even a home inspection. Those types of things would be closing costs. And you always have to budget for closing costs in addition to your down payment. Okay, we have a few questions before I turn it over to Shereef. Can you go to the next slide, Shane? Okay, so now think of those 10 words that we just went over. I gave you a sentence here. Try to fill in the missing word. So a lender such as a bank will check your what before giving you a mortgage. And I see lots of answers there. Credit score, Appy, I think you got it first. Oh, actually LG G71 got it first. So maybe a robot beat you to it, Appy. Okay, next one. The amount that you borrow from the bank is known as the, and it looks like Woonmi already got it. Principal. All right, great job, Woonmi. So that is correct. And let's go to our last question. A type of home where you own your unit but share common spaces is called a Ondo, somebody almost got it. Condominium, LGG71 got that one too. All right, great. My time is up. So again, my name's Ian Shepherd. My business is Right Start Newcomer Services. Check it out when you're in Halifax. We do lots of things like live streams, city tours, English classes, all that stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Shereef. Shereef's last name is Elkoshairi, and he is the owner of the Reef Group. So take it away, Shereef.
Thank you very much, Ian. Shane wanted this video to play for everybody. I don't think it has sound, but it's just one of these videos that's it's a promotional video really to describe and show people who we are inside real estate and a little bit outside of real estate as well. It's got no sound, so you just have to imagine that there's music there. Shane, you're okay if we skip it? All right, thanks, Shane. So the process of buying real estate is what I do for a living. It will take much longer than the time I have allowed to describe it in detail. So I'm only going to give you guidelines as to what's the best approach to doing this. So one of the major things I always tell people is choose a realtor with experience to work with you. Where you're new to Canada, some things that people who are local would know, you would not know, or people who are new to the country would not be aware of. I remember the Syrian refugees had a guy who was sweeping the salt from the salt trucks off the road, which are used to keep the ice down. So he didn't know, he thought the truck was dropping salt by mistake. So a realtor with experience would be able to help you understand how the environment around here works and what you should be watching out for. A realtor with friends that you know and trust is somebody that you should work with. That's a very, very important factor because there's a lot of things that he would understand about what you're looking for that would be beneficial. And sometimes looking at reviews online for the agent that you're trying to use is a very good step as well. All right. Any questions so far? Great. So I'll just keep moving on. The buying process, Shane, we're there. Perfect. So get a detailed mortgage approval, not just a quick pre-approval. You can actually walk into the bank and tell them how much money you have, and they'll tell you you're approved for a mortgage of a particular amount. That's not really a very good mortgage approval. You need to have somebody interview you, sit down with you, either over the phone or in person to go over your financial details. That's something that's really, really important because you don't want to go shopping for something and find out later you could have bought something bigger or you can't afford to buy it. So always sit down and have a very detailed mortgage approval done. Then also look at your monthly budget. After you understand from your mortgage person how much money you can spend on buying a house, you need to look at how much money that house will cost you every month. So you don't live in a house and end up not having money to go out for dinner or travel or generally spend and having fun. So that's something you should also be very, very aware of. Closing costs, like Ian was commenting on, they're usually about 2.5% to 3% of the purchase price of your house. 1.5% of that alone is a de-transfer tax in Nova Scotia. So those are some of the things you should really watch out for. Then learning about heating and cooling systems. A lot of us, particularly myself, I come from the Middle East, so I'm from Egypt to be exact. We're not really very familiar with heating systems because back home it's usually hot all the time anyways. You need to be aware of how heating systems work here because it does help you avoid accidents and problems because you were not aware, whether it be accidents in the form of a water leak or an accident in the form of a very high bill. Those are some of the things you should keep yourself aware of. And then there was the last point, which I wanted to discuss, was in the buying process, you should always have your agent recommend to you a few lawyers and a few inspectors to help you continue the process, because without them, you're really dealing in an area that could be unknown to you. So you should have information about that. Shane, could we go to the last slide, please? Oops. Now, one of the things when buying a house and looking after that investment is understanding upkeep of that investment. So you have to look after the property outside. I know a lot of people from where we're from usually are buying buildings or apartments in concrete buildings. The upkeep is very little. Here you have grass and wood, and the weather could get very cold and very vicious. So you have to look after things properly. Then there's the issue of routine maintenance. You have to clean things, make sure things are not plugged. there's all kinds of things that go around with a house that, again, I don't have enough time here to comment on it, but you should be very aware of. And the last one is the one that really makes you money at the end of a term where you own a house and you want to turn around and sell it, is to perform periodic updates and upgrades to the house. So make sure you always do things with houses that improve their value, such as upgrading or replacing the kitchen, upgrading or replacing bathrooms. Things of that nature help a lot. Replacing flooring when it's tired, painting the house. And that's all I had for you guys to go over today. At the end, if you have any questions, please let us know. I'll be more than happy to go over them with you. And I just want to introduce Steven. Steven's a friendly banker with Mortgage Solutions, and he'll be able to answer all the questions about mortgages for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Shereef. That was really great. And you kind of led into some of the things I'm going to talk about too. So first, I want to let you know a little bit about me and what my background is. So I've worked in Canadian banking for about 2 decades now. I've managed a lot of branches in my time. I've run business development teams. I've also worked as a financial advisor during that time. Now I'm working solely as a mortgage broker. I'll give you an idea what a broker does just because not everyone knows, so it's good for you to know. So as a broker, what I do is I'm able to access a bunch of different lenders across the board and a bunch of different banks to show you what all of your options are when you're shopping for your home. Some things about me when it comes to that. So, applications can be done completely virtually and online, exactly how we're meeting right now. Hours completely flexible to what works for you and I. And as Shereef mentioned, I go through a full pre-qualification process with someone when I meet with them. So a lot of times if you get what's called pre-approved at your bank, it's them simply asking, what's your income? Okay, well, based on that, you can afford this. What I do is a little different. I like to look at your credit bureau up front, collect the information I need regarding your down payment and your income upfront so that I can let you know when you go talk to someone like Shereef exactly what you're approved for and exactly what that's going to look like. So that's a little bit about what a broker does. Shane, if you could switch over to the next slide there. So next I want to talk about, the fact is this was a newcomer seminar. A lot of newcomers, just to start this off, can get approved for mortgages a standard way, the same as any other Canadian would, but there's also specific programs in place to get you in a home sooner if that's something you choose to do and you're in a position to do it. So there's programs in place both for permanent residents. So, someone who's here plans to live here and continue to live here. And there's also programs here for non-permanent residents, which usually applies to someone who's moved to Canada specifically just for work, but their intent would be to remain a citizen of the country that they've moved from. So what does this mean when you're buying a home in Canada? So, the fact is the specialized programs are there to help you get in home sooner. And what that program does specifically is a specialized way of looking at both your employment and your credit history. What I'm going to review over today when it comes to that is specifically establishing credit in Canada, the do's and don'ts that'll get you to where you want to be even quicker. I want to review over quickly down payment and closing costs. So for instance, how much you're going to need and some tips and advice to ways you should build that structure to make it really simple for you and simple for the lenders you're going to apply to. I want to talk about establishing income and employment, specifically what a lender is going to look for in your employment when they look at it. And I want to talk briefly about mortgage default insurance. It's not a hot topic, but it's something you should absolutely know about when you go to buy a home in Canada. So first, for establishing credit. So, what does establishing credit mean is where I usually try to start with people. So in Canada, if you have a credit card, if you have a car loan, a phone bill, it's going to track, there's specific corporations and those banks are going to report into basically giving full details on your credit history and your repayment history and use of that credit. So when you apply for a credit card in Canada, for instance, lenders and banks are going to report all those details directly to these credit bureau companies to let them know specifically what it looks like. Based on your credit history, they're going to develop a credit score for you. The score is going to be somewhere between 300 and 900 to get the best possible rates and situations. you're going to look for a credit score of 680 or above is what you're aiming to get. Now, it's not hard to get that score. I couldn't give you the equation for it because they don't give us that. But the best and simplest ways to establish that would be, get a small credit card. And when you have that, throughout the month, make sure you keep the balance low. There's a common myth that keeping your balance higher is going to help, and using that credit card all the time. Constantly keep the credit card low is going to make a big difference for you. And when you pay your bills in Canada, pay them on time and as agreed. And that goes for your utility bills and phone bills. It all gets reported in. It's going to have a massive positive impact on your credit score. In some cases, if you're ready to buy before you're able to establish credit, the other thing I'll let you know too is in certain cases, we can take bureaus or banking information from the country you came from. So just keep that in mind as well. Speak to an expert, find out what's possible for you. So on the next slide there, for down payment and closing costs, two items I'd like to talk about. So let's start with down payment. Your down payment is the money you're required to put in. So in Canada, if you're purchasing a home, it was already mentioned, you need a 5% down payment. But if you're going over $500,000, you actually need 10% on every dollar over that $500,000 mark. So just something to keep in mind. Areas your down payment can come from. So they either need to be from your own savings or a gift from family. And we'll confirm where that's coming from. Typically, if it's your own savings, we want to see a 3-month history of that. Key part is it cannot come from a borrowed source. You can't take it from a loan or a credit card in order to make your down payment for your home. The other side of that would be closing costs. So on closing costs, they're the additional funds you're going to need in order to get your mortgage closed. It comes down to legal and administration fees associated with that for getting your home registered. And I know our lawyer could talk more in depth about this than I could. From the lending perspective, we're required to make sure you have 1.5% set aside to cover those closing costs. Those can come from a borrowed source if you choose. So really the big numbers, remember, that 5% and that 1.5%. So a total 6.5 is going to get you there. Establishing income. So many newcomers come to Canada with different backgrounds. In all cases, we need to ensure that we have a history that satisfies a lender and knowing you're going to be able to pay back your loan. So typically what we're going to look for is that you have a 3-month history with the company you work for, that you have some sort of guaranteed hours per week to determine, here's what we know you're safely going to receive. If you're looking to purchase or operate your own business, it's an option, but typically what we're going to look for is that you've got a 2-year history of operating that business. And we're going to collect certain information from you as well. I've got them listed on the side. I know it's a lot of details there, but just things like a letter of employment, pay stub, 3 months bank records is something very typical for us to collect, or tax documents. The other thing is, if you have children, you're living here in Canada, there's a good chance you're receiving child tax benefits. We can use those as your income as well. So there's a lot of different options, but when you speak to an expert, they're going to review through all that with you. So Shane, I know I'm running tight on time. I got that one last slide there and I'll shoot through that rather quick. So the hot topic of mortgage default insurance. So in Canada, if you have less than a 20% down payment, you are required to get what's called mortgage default insurance. So it does protect the lender against and investors against you not repaying that mortgage. It's what makes our housing market so safe in Canada. The typical fee is between 2.8 and 4%. If you have greater than a 20% down payment, you don't need to worry about it typically, just to let you know that up front. But otherwise, your options would be to have it added to your mortgage amount or for you to pay the premium upfront yourself. So you do have other options when it comes to that as well. The big piece is just speak to an expert. Shane, and I think I'm just over time, but I've got you up next year. So I'd love to hand it over to you so you can talk about the planning side.
Yeah, listen, Stephen, you did a great job and thanks so much. And I would just like to say, as Stephen mentioned, my name is Shane Kennedy, and I am the owner and operator of a small business with a large corporation behind us, the Cooperators. And we cover everything to do with your insurance needs as well as your wealth needs. But I really tell people I'm in the advice, I'm in the helping business, and I'm in the relationship business. So before I get going, I just really want to say a big thank you to everybody that has joined us here, but also whether you live in Nova Scotia or you're thinking about moving to Nova Scotia, as a Nova Scotian, I just want to say thank you for making that choice, because our new to Canada, new friends are just incredibly important to the market. So big thank you. I am just going to talk to you about 5 quick tips on how we can save you money, better protect you, and hopefully make you a little bit money as well. So tip number 1, Stephen talked about what you need to have. My job is to help you get it. And so tip number 1 is you need a down payment plan. And whether that is saving for a down payment, and I think Shereef had talked about making sure that you understand what you can afford. I recommend to people, you know, whether it be a year, 6 months, or 2 years out, to actually start to put away a savings plan every month around what your mortgage, what your taxes would look like, and that money can go towards the down payment. If you have the cash already saved, there's options. We could invest that into an RSP, generate a tax refund, and then borrow from that RSP for your down payment towards your home. So the big headline here is have a plan and work with an advisor that can make sure that your money is working as hard as possible towards that down payment. So that's tip number 1. Number 2 is, when it comes to home insurance, if you are getting a mortgage or you are buying a home, you will need home insurance. So that means if something bad happens to your property, that you are protected. And I would say, make sure that you get the insurance set up early. What we find often is a lot of people forget about the home insurance until the last minute, and you will not be able to get financing with an institution without home insurance. The other thing I would say is deductible. And I'll give you a little bit of, and I can't remember if Ian talked about it, but you know, in simple terms, a deductible is what you pay if you have a claim. So say, for instance, you buy a house, you get home insurance, and your basement floods, and you have a claim for $50,000. Your deductible is the portion of that claim that you pay, and the insurance company pays the remainder. What we recommend is a 0.5% of appraised value deductible, meaning if your home is $500,000, a 0.5% deductible is $2,500. And the reason I point that out is because the higher your deductible, the less you will pay for home insurance. So it will save you money. But to bring you back to the definition of a deductible, if you have that claim for $50,000 and your deductible is $2,500, just to do the math, and I've got lots of finance folks on this call, $47,500 is what I would pay towards that claim, and you would pay $2,500. So that's tip number 2, is understand your deductible and get your insurance set up early for your home. Number 3 is, Shereef talked about it being very warm and dry in many countries that are on this call or where you've come from. Here in Canada, water coverage and extreme weather and flooding is a real risk. And the tip I would give you here is to understand what the heck comprehensive water coverage means. And just to give you the definition, it has to do with sewer backup, water in your basement, waves, storm surge, flooding. Anything that comes into your house is a real risk when it comes to water. And I would say comprehensive water is something that you want to pay attention to. And in my opinion, $25,000 or even $50,000 is not enough when it comes to comprehensive water. Last point I would make on this slide is cheaper is not always better. Next tip, we feel like we're speed dating here tonight because we're going so quickly, but tip number 4 is protect your debt and your loved ones. And I remember somebody said to me, if you had a money-making machine in your basement, would you insure it? And I think the answer that everybody would say is absolutely, we would insure that money-making machine that spit out $100 bills. Well, you are that money-making machine, and it is important that you insure your life with a life insurance product, and a life insurance product that is earmarked to cover your debt. And I tell you, the banks, much like Stephen, I used to work at a bank and I love the banks, But the problem with the product that the banks sell is that the bank owns that life insurance contract and you do not own it. If you change your mortgage or you decide Stephen Lewis is a great guy, I'm going to move my mortgage to Stephen Lewis, you will have to rewrite that life insurance and you will have to pay a higher premium and it will not be locked in. So tip number 4 is protect your debt and loved ones with a life insurance contract. Last one is all about building wealth. And I just want to introduce you quickly to a term, which is a whole life policy. And this is a life insurance contract that allows you to protect the people, the things, and your loved ones, but it allows you to grow cash values. It pays you dividends, and it's tax sheltered growth. And a life insurance contract with a whole life can be paid off in 10 to 20 years. And I did a quick little, so you had a little bit of an example about what a whole life example might be. So $100,000 whole life policy for a 30-year-old, paid off in 20 years, costs you approximately $2,400 annually. At age 65, this has $141,000 in cash, and it's grown by 3 times to a $300,000 face value. So whole life is a product that you can use to build wealth. And that is my time. So again, huge thank you to everyone for joining us. I want to turn it over now to a really good friend of mine and actually a neighbor and somebody who I personally have used and can't say enough of. Moneesha Sinha is a real estate lawyer who's been in the business for almost 20 years, although she is so young and looks so young, but she has been doing great things, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about that process. So over to you, Moneesha. Moneesha, are you with us?
She's
No.
on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry. I keep getting kicked off, so I feel like I have to talk really, really fast. I was just joking because I was saying I'm sure everyone can figure out how old I am now, but that's okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much, Shane, for organizing this and such interesting other people on this, all the other presenters. And I am so excited. I am also a child of a once newcomer, so I can imagine how overwhelming this might seem. And I'm certainly happy to answer any questions over email at any time. And I also take text, I also take emails. So that's all completely doable for you to reach out if you have any questions. So we'll just go through my first slide. If that's okay, we'll just move down about when to hire a lawyer. So if you make an offer, whether you're physically here or not here, the stage of hiring a lawyer is right at the beginning. I need a copy of the offer right away. This is when you're in the conditional phase, and your realtor, Shereef, would go over this with you, with your financing, insurance, inspection, and things like that. That is when you actually hire me or a lawyer like me as well. And the lawyer basically goes through the agreement, makes sure the search of the property is okay, the sellers are okay. Essentially, in very simple terms, is looking through the agreement to make sure the contract is okay, the house that you're buying is okay. And that is really my stage of legal review. And that is part of your agreement of purchase and sale. So you have to hire the lawyer up front, not when the deal firms up. And I know a lot of people panic about this because they worry you have to pay me if you hire me and then the deal falls apart. But you don't, not with me. I would never charge clients for that initial review, legal review part. So just to keep that in mind. And I think I'm talking really fast, but anyone can email me with any questions. So we need the offer to open the file. And then we complete our stage while you're going around with your realtor to do your financing, inspection. There might be well testing, radon testing. There's certainly a lot of sort of steps you have to take at those beginning stages. And that's when we are also brought into the picture. So the next stage is what do I need? The next slide, sorry, is what do I need? So as your lawyer, we have gone through a whirlwind of changes in the past year due to this pandemic. And a lot of my clients, especially newcomers to Canada, are not physically here at the time of signing with me. So we do need ID up front, and we will request your insurance at some point. We offer something new, which is basically virtual signing versus in-person signing. So virtual signing is now allowed with our new worldwide pandemic, which means you don't physically have to be here to sign with me to complete the purchase. We can sign just like we are now on video, which is definitely an interesting side aspect of the legal process of purchasing a house in Canada. We need your mortgage instructions. So in that case, the mortgage broker sends us instructions. We need those as soon as possible so we can prepare the file for signing with me. I think a few people already talked about closing costs, so I don't want to bore the topic down, but there are transfer taxes there, title insurance is there, government registration fees. There is a new closing cost here in Halifax. That's a tax certificate. It's a small cost. It's $75 compared to the overall picture, but that is something I do tell clients about. And we always adjust for oil, propane, property taxes, just to keep that in mind. Those are part of your numbers. If you're buying a house with a tank of oil, for example, you have to bank an extra $800 or $900, just depending on the price of oil up front, because you are paying for that full tank of oil. And you know, propane also has a cost. So these are also things I mentioned to the client up front. Now, obviously, as a closing cost, there are legal fees. That always comes into play with disbursements. We do charge a discounted rate for referral clients. I find these days legal fees are all over the map. We usually charge around $600 for referral clients plus tax, just to give you the heads up on that. The process of closing signing, which is my last slide. So whether you're physically here or not, you have to arrange for a walkthrough of the property. That can be done with you not being here and with your realtor just doing the walkthrough. You have to meet with me. Now we do virtual, we do in person. I meet clients all over the place, all over the time, even with the time difference. So we're good on that. We can always make that work. A video meeting means we sit like this, we go over the documents, and then you scan them back to me. Funds for your down payment and your closing costs, that has to come to me in the form of a bank draft. It has to be deposited into our firm trust account. We have different options, but when that money is ready to come to me, it does still have to come as a wire, a bank draft. It has to come into our account, and we'll need that for the closing date. A lot of times clients ask me, the biggest question I get is, how does closing day go? How does that last stage go, that day that you're taking occupancy of your home? So generally, if you're physically here, you do a walkthrough, or your realtor does the walkthrough if you're not here. We are the ones who process the closing. So we process the money, and we ensure basically funds get transferred. Then we let you know that we're closed, and then you can take access of your home. Or if you're physically not here, it means the home is yours. So we have all day to close on that very last date, and we try and ensure that we are closed by 5 o'clock. And we would deal with any walkthrough issues as well, if your realtor discovered something, or if you're physically here to do the walkthrough. I'm always happy to answer any questions. I know this is an overwhelming process. I hope you will email me and certainly mention this seminar, because I will offer an additional small discount on our fees, just as an incentive if you would like to go through me for your purchase. But regardless, Canada is great. Bedford is a great community. If you have any questions about where to go eat, you come and ask me too. And I turn it over to Shane, who is amazing.
And I just got to get myself off of mute here. And there we go. Okay. So first off, I just want to say a big thank you to all of our subject matter experts who, yeah, we ran through it really, really quickly, but I would just say about each and every one of them, these are just really, really terrific people who really, really care about working and helping. And, you know, I couldn't be happier to kind of stand on this, you know, this seminar with them all. And I would encourage you to, if you have questions, you know, reach out to them, have a conversation, because they're just, I can't say enough. Okay, so with all that said, now we're going to have a bit of fun. So this is where you take out your smartphones, and in your browser, I need you to type in kahoot.it. Kahoot.it. So take out your smartphones and put kahoot.it, because we are going to play a game. We are going to see how well you have listened to us over the last 30 minutes, and it's a game of speed. We are going to ask you 10 questions, and you're going to have to look at the screen to get the questions, and then answer on your phone. So it's and I'll read it out loud so that you can hear it as well. But it's fast, and so I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. But kahoot.it, and maybe Stephen or Ian or somebody could put that in the chat while I bring up our Kahoot game here.
It's in the chat now, Shane. So anyone who wants to access it really easily, just go into the chat and click on the link. I know Mercedeh put it there, and so did I.
Okay, so now I'm going to, we're just loading up the pin. And then once you get in there, there's going to be a little spot that says something about please enter the pin. Well, I'm going to give you the magical pin here in a minute. Okay, so here it is. Here is the game pin, 526-1998. And then you have to put a fancy name. So your game name, we'll call it. And just so you know, we've got some prizes. What I would say is these are Canadian Nova Scotia prizes. So whoever wins first, second, and third will win a little prize. If you're in another country, in another province, we're going to have to figure out, you know, whether you don't give it to a friend in Nova Scotia, or if you know Mercedeh, you know, she can donate it to somebody on your behalf. But there'll be bragging rights nonetheless. So we got people coming in. We got 17 people. Okay, Kahoot.it. Kahoot.it in your browser. So we've got 19, 20. We'll wait for, I think we've got 50 people registered. So we'll maybe wait until we see if we can get 30 or 40, and then we'll be off to the races. And it is a game of speed. So Kahoot.it for anybody. We'll give it a couple more minutes. We still have a few people coming in. I'm trying to look for the best name here. So we've got VP, I like that. 1400, Mercedes-Benz, that I think that's got to be my favorite. I'm counting on you, Mercedes-Benz. Mohammed Awesome, Sadie Lynn. Okay, a couple more minutes and we will get rolling. Kahoot.it. Put that in your phone browser, and then it will ask you for a game pin. Stephen, I don't know if anybody's having any difficulty in the chat, but we'll give it a couple more minutes.
I've been watching it. The link's in there, the pin's in there as well. So people should be good to go.
Okay, I'm going to give it 30 more seconds, and then we're going to hit the start button, and it's going to be fast and furious. So, okay. Last call. Okay, we got 23 people. Anybody else? Okay, but somebody else is in there at 24. I know sometimes with these things, technical can be a little bit of a challenge. And what I would say is, while we're waiting, Kahoot is actually free. So if you want to, you know, you play it with your friends, or it's a great way to learn, but it's also a really, really great tool. So they do have a free version as well. And it's one of my favorite. So we've got 25 people. I think we've got 50%. So we are going to get it going. Here we go. 10 questions. 3, 2, 1. Here's the first question. What is a good deductible for home insurance? So red, 5%, blue, 50%, yellow, 0.5%. And Stephen, I can't see that one because my board is at the bottom. Green, 1%. So, okay, 6 people. You got to move fast. It's 10 seconds. So you don't have time to even think here, guys. So it's you got to be fast on the fingers. So we got 6 people, 0.5. Let's go. See who's in the lead here. Boyce, AJ, happy. I like that too. Next question, 10 seconds, gonna be quick. Where was ice cream invented? I didn't know this one. Canada, Iran, China, Nigeria. Only a few seconds left. Okay, here we go. Yes, it was China, our good friends from China. So, oh boy, it's still doing it. Suman, it's coming up the side. Sorrel, next question. Good job, everybody. Third question. This is the process of paying off debt through regular principal and interest payments over time. Here we go. Amazon, amortization, depreciation, no clue. And I have no idea where all that scribbling is coming from, but anybody else see that?
Yeah, I can see it, Shane. I think you have annotations turned on, so that's why somebody's doing that. You don't mean to, but
there you go. That's okay. We can see it. Not yet. Amortization. We had a few people that said no clue. So thanks for being so honest. Okay. Oh, we have a solid leader here. Somebody is taking off here. Okay, let's keep going. 410. These are the legal and administrative costs you will need to pay when your house closes. Property taxes, bank fees, management fees, closing costs. What is the right answer? Countdown's coming. I think we've talked about this one a lot, Shereef. So I think I'm expecting big things from this question. Let's see what we got, my friend. Okay, yes, closing costs. Not 100%, but we had a pretty good showing there. And remember, faster wins the game. Okay, next question. 5 of 10. What is the name of the largest ocean on Earth? Atlantic, Arctic, Pacific, Indian. And that's a typical wave in the East Coast there on a cold, stormy day. But don't let it scare you away. Okay, what do we got? Pacific is the correct answer. So let's we're coming to the end here. Oh boy, Suman is taking over the lead. Let's see. We still got a bit of time. 6 to 10. Square footage of a house includes unfinished basement, finished living space, garage, doghouse. So which one is the correct answer? Okay, we're coming. We got 13 answers, 15, 7. 5 seconds left. That kind of looks like my house. I need to do some work. Here we go. Finished living space, correct. Okay, any movement? Okay, oh, Suman. See, Suman bought a house, so she knows. I think that's the Suman that I'm thinking it is. True or false? Condos do not have property taxes. True or false? Condos do not have property taxes. True or false? And I know, Shereef, I believe you've sold a lot of condos in the city of Halifax, if my research is correct.
a few.
And yes, false. Condos do have property taxes. So, you know, if you're looking for a condo, Shereef is your guy. Suman is padding her lead, but VP's coming up the side. Let's see if he or she can do it. What is the minimum down payment? 5, 40, 20, 10. So you guys are getting it now. I'm seeing a lot of fast answers there. It's called fast fingers, fast fingers. Okay. Okay, where are we at here? 1 second, here we go. And 5%. And that was a perfect score. So let's see who got it first. Okay, Suman VP. I see Sadi. Looks like you're on fire with a streak of 3. So you are coming to win it. 9. How long can you be considered a newcomer for the purpose of qualifying for a mortgage? 2 years, 5 years, 1 year, 6 months. Okay, last question coming up, but let's see if this changed the leaderboard. 5 years, Oh, VP, there you go. Last question. Everybody put the boots on. Let's do it. Life insurance that has cash values, term insurance, car insurance, pet insurance, whole life. Life insurance that has cash values and grows over time. This will decide the game. We've got 20 answers, 5 seconds left. Correct, whole life. So most of the people were listening to me, but not everybody. Okay, let's see who won it. This is the podium. The Olympics just finished. Paralympics now. Number 3, Sorrel. So prize for you, Sorrel. Suman, number 2. And number 1, our champion for the seminar tonight is VP. So what I would ask you to do is and we got some runners up, Wen and Sadie. So the top 3 are gonna win a little prize from your hosts here today. And what I would ask you to do is email me at where you're registered. Send me an email with your contact details so we can get those prizes or figure out how we can get those prizes to you. So we're going to stop sharing. And so hopefully that was a bit of fun. We've got 2 quick segments left. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a little panel. So we have some, I have to say celebrities, I have to say superstars. We have 3 ladies who recently picked up their family and moved to Canada, and then they were brave enough to actually buy a house. And we have them here tonight, and I feel like I'm Oprah, but I'm not as good as looking as Oprah. I'm gonna ask them some questions. And what I would say is, if you have questions at the end, we're gonna open it up for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes for some questions. So if you have questions for our panelists or for any of our experts, we want you to, yeah, somebody's little baby sleeping. I love that. Hopefully we didn't put him or her to sleep. If you have questions, write them down because we're going to have a Q&A section at the end. But what I first want everybody to do, so we've heard from Mercedeh, so just say a quick hello, Mercedeh, to everybody so they can see you.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, and I want a quick introduction to Evelyn, maybe who you are, Evelyn, and where do you come from, and just say a quick hello.
So me or Evelyn?
Evelyn.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evelyn, and I moved from Nigeria last year. My family and I were about 1 year plus here, and we decided to, pick up a home like 3-4 months after we got to Halifax because we kind of decided to settle in the city, and we're loving it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to have you. Thank you so much. And Suman, I'll get you just to say a quick hello and just a little bit of an introduction on you, if you would.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Suman Kumar, and thank you, Shane, to introduce me here. And so I'm basically from India, and last year in October, I moved to Nova Scotia from Massachusetts. So as soon as we moved, and we really loved this city, and I really wanted to settle down somewhere, and this is the best place to settle down. So we recently bought a house, and I'm here. So
that's awesome. Well, that's great. Okay, we're going to keep the theme of quick answers so that we can have lots of time for questions at the end. And Evelyn, I might get you to move your microphone away a little bit because there's a little bit of background noise coming there. But first question for all of you, quick question and quick answer. What's the one thing you learned during the home buying process that you didn't know and you couldn't find the answer on the internet? So one thing. And I'll start with, just, you can just jump in, but Mercedeh, you go first.
I guess the thing that I learned is that everyone has their own experience of buying a house, depending on where they are and what country they're living in. So you may hear from some people, it's really good to buy a house, and some other people say something opposite, not to buy a house, just don't do that right now. It is the seller's market. So you are the one who knows what is good for you, and you need to see what is your need and what is your capability and the profits in the later years. So you are the one who needs to make the decision of buying or not buying a house at this time, especially in this market. And there's nobody who can help you with that. You need to understand by yourself.
That's awesome. That's great. Suman, how about you? One thing that you didn't know and you couldn't find on the internet that you can share with the group here tonight.
So yes, actually there were so many things, but if I'm choosing one, it was that I didn't know before about anything radon gas, and I never heard this before. So after buying house, then on closing time, we got to know that something is radon that we need to be take care of and bring the reading for those. So if I could have known before, so I was more careful about those things.
Okay, yeah. So radon gas. That might be something you might. Yeah, that's a great one. Evelyn, thank you so much. Evelyn, how about you? One thing you didn't know and you couldn't find on the internet.
Okay, for me is the closing cost. I knew about the closing cost, but the real closing cost people need to pay attention to, because I found it to be a little bit expensive because you have so many so many factors that you have to pay. But my own saving grace was that I was very proactive. I think I set aside about 5% of the down payment, or no, of the total cost. So so I didn't have to shoot myself in the leg. So people really need to pay attention to the real closing cost.
Yeah, that's a good one. So pay attention to the closing costs. And there's a welcome tax. And I don't know if and that's the big tax that they charge you. I call it welcome. You gotta know that one, because that's the one that really kind of bites you. So that's really good. Yeah. Okay. Next question is for actually Suman. Was there any surprises during buying a house? Any surprises that you can recall that you could share with everyone when you went through the home buying process? Any surprises?
So yeah, actually, when we say like we are going, as the Reef says, it's very, very important when you need to be prepare yourself and educate yourself as much as you can, and find before end up with anyone, like any real estate agent. It is very important that person should be a local and he really have an experience in that area. So yeah, so it was surprise when we started looking for a house. We thought it's kind of same as we saw houses in my country, and when we went through so many houses, we see, oh my goodness, is the heating pump, and there is a basements, then there is a few other things that we supposed to take care, and same the humidity dehumidifiers and something, those things, those kind of surprise for us, because this is a different place, different atmosphere, different weather. So, and other than that, actually the financial things too. So those were we thought we just find out like how much mortgage we supposed to pay, or how much we qualify for that. It's only that cost and the down payment, but not, that is not enough. We need more and other expenses too. So for a first time buyer, those costs and those expenses are really surprise for us. We were not prepared for those. So if we could have, as you said, we could have saved more money and plan those, saved as money for somewhere else to let grow or to be planned properly. So we could have more extra help in financial way to bear those expenses, and we could have like do a little bit better way. So I would say plan as early as you could, and do your research, and take help, talk to people, ask people as much you can, and explore before to enter to anywhere.
That's awesome. Really, really great sharing. And I think we're seeing a theme: costs, build relationships, talk to people, understand, and you've got lots of new friends on here today that if we can help in any way. Evelyn, next question for you. What was the biggest frustration in buying a house?
Oh God, documentation, the back and forth. Oh my God. At one point, I was so upset with the builders, different changes, but I have to give it to the real estate agent, because sometimes when I see, in a week, they can send same document to sign, and I will just ignore it. I'm going to sign. You can't. I've got 3 kids. You can't keep changing your plans. I've got a life as well, but thank God for the real estate agent. It was sometimes we will beg, madam, please just take time, just
And Evelyn,
please sign.
so documentation and
It's so much.
and change management, I think I heard there. You have to be prepared that there's changes that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, and patience, I think I heard too, Evelyn. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really great.
At one point, I lost my patience.
And that's funny. Okay, Mercedes, one last question for you, and then I got one last question for the whole group. But the question I have for you is, what would you do differently knowing what you know now? So if you could rewind the clock and go through the home buying process again, what's one thing you would do differently?
I would be more careful about choosing the people who I need to work with, because I guess in this process, which is very frustrating, stressful, and it may take long, you need someone who is very sharp, who is very responsive, and who is very accurate. So you may not be experiencing any further stress rather than the process itself. So if you have the right person next to you, it would be so helpful, and you may have a better experience of this home buying.
Yeah, you know what? That was a really, really great tip there. So just find somebody, and I think Shereef talked about that. You find the right fit for you, but then also kind of clarify expectations around, when are you going to get back to me? What's follow-up look like? I think those are really good ones. Last question I have for all of you, and I wish we had lots of more time, but we need to keep the train rolling. And I'll start with Evelyn first. One piece of advice that you would leave with all of these wonderful people tonight about buying a house. One piece of advice that you could share with them that we haven't talked about already.
Okay, I would say have the right team, from the real estate agent to the mortgage broker to the lawyer. The lawyer is key. Moneesha was the one that closed the deal on my house, and she was able to save me some costs at the end of it, at the end of the process. So having the right team is very important. People will have your back, and you make sure that they actually do their job.
Yeah, I like that. Have the right team. Great piece of advice. That's another thing we've heard. Let's go to Suman. Piece of advice.
Keep your mind, keep your peace, then you can think properly. So I would say always calm and peaceful, and not be in a hurry.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Keep calm. And in 5 years' time, is it going to matter? That's what my wife always tells me when I get all riled up. In 5 years' time, is it really going to matter? So keep calm. I like that piece of advice.
It's a big money investment, so keep calm. That's important.
Keep calm. I think that's a great one. And Mercedes, how about you? What piece of advice can you give us? And a big shout out to you for doing such a wonderful job hosting and kicking us off too.
Thank you. I guess the most important thing is that people get frustrated and overwhelmed with not having their offers accepted, and that makes them tired of this process. So they may decide, okay, just put an offer on something that you're not really sure of. But you need to be always aware and just remind yourself, this is the biggest purchase of my life, and I need to be sure that if my offer gets accepted, I need to be very happy and surprised. So I was reminding myself this because sometimes I got tired and I just put an offer in something that I was not really sure and I was not really happy with. So this is really important, to keep calm and also be sure that you want the house that you're putting the offer on.
You have to love it. And in Canada, I don't know if this is universal, but if it's meant to be, it will be. And that's a bit of a saying here. So wonderful job to our panel. Thank you so much, and thank you for choosing to come to Nova Scotia and buy a house. Now it's the time that we've been doing all the talking. We're going to turn it over to all of you. Stephen is going to be our Q&A moderator. So he's going to, if you have questions, and if you already put some in, I'd ask you to maybe put them in again so we can bump them up. But if you have questions for our panel, please put them in the chat. We've got, call it about 10, 12 minutes. If we don't get to all the questions, we will email you back. But we're going to ask Stephen to kind of grab the questions and put them to the appropriate people.
So we have one question in so far. So first one is, how can we find our people from real estate agents, broker, and thus far? So I think the question is really around, how do we find the right people to work with? I think the best people start with that. Maybe Mercedeh, could you would have went the process of finding some people yourself. Would you like to kind of tone in on that one first?
Yeah, we had some friends who had already bought their houses. So we asked the community that we're in, about the person they know and if they had any good experience with anybody. So they recommended us to work with them. And then between 2 or 3 people that we were recommended, we chose one of them and we worked with that one. So I guess everyone in their own community, they can ask friends or the ones who they know to let them know who they recommend them.
And I think Shereef started with that too. He said, the great place to start, I think it was you who said that, right, Shereef, with friends, family?
Yes, it's definitely important because people who understand, I have to deal with this on a daily basis. I deal with people who were first-time comers to the province and first-time comers to North America. And when I was 16, I had moved to Maryland from the Middle East. So I kind of understand, the don't know what they don't know part of the equation is massive. So I kind of make people aware of, if you look at a house and you fall in love with it, but it's got a very steep driveway, but you see it in the summertime, understand that there will be snow on it in a few months and you will be coming down it sitting down. So
Sledding.
I try to make sure they understand what's about to, what they're about to look at when things change. It's not just superficially, if they like it, let's go with it type of thing. I try to make sure they understand. If they got 4 kids, maybe a condo is not a good idea, because if the building is not soundproof enough, and none of them are against 4 kids, stick to something that's not a condo or an apartment.
And I don't know if we talked about it, Shereef, but something to point out: if you're buying, you don't pay. The seller pays the real estate. Is that still?
Right. Yes, buyers do not pay real estate fees except in extremely rare conditions. Extremely rare. But yeah, most of the time, the collection of fees is all paid by the seller. So the buyers don't have anything to worry about. And I always would say one thing in closing about the services realtors provide. Tons of great realtors out there. I'd hope to be among them. But at the same time, what you want to do is make sure you treat the realtor you work with loyally, so he actually looks after you with the same level of loyalty. If your focus is to work with several real estate agents and they try to race to sell you a house, they'll just try to put you, get you to buy anything without telling you in all honesty what might be best for you. So make sure you understand that real estate agents have your best interest in mind if you are going to work with them. And unfortunately, of course, like anything, if you choose to just deal with several real estate agents, you might be dealing with people who don't really care for you as much as they should.
Yeah, and the last thing I would say is, I think the fit and having a relationship with whoever you're working with is incredibly important. And this is a big, maybe the biggest purchase of your life. And I tell people, get a couple names and then interview folks for fit, because what may work for Shereef or Mercedeh may not be what I'm looking for. So, interview a couple people, and I always go whatever you're looking to do, cheapest and price is not always equal to better. That would be my last comment. Stephen, I know we got questions rolling in.
Yeah, we have some other ones. So first question, so we had come in since then would be, can I mortgage a house if I currently guarantee or guarantor for a friend? I can kind of tackle that one rather easily. The fact that you can, it just may reduce the amount of money that you can borrow. And it comes back to a lot of what we said before about talking to an expert. So go speak to someone who can review your specific situation. I'm sure I hear this from real estate agents. I'm sure Shereef's seen this where, the fact is any debts you hold are going to affect how much money you can borrow. So if you're guaranteeing someone, it's going to affect how much money you can borrow for a home. Same way as I was going to say for Shereef, if you see someone pulling a driveway with a brand new, very expensive car, it can kind of be uh-oh, did they just go buy a car? And is that going to affect what they're approved for?
And make sure, Steve, you mentioned that after your mortgage approval, until you close, going and getting that brand new Mercedes would be a very, very bad idea because the mortgage rules will change and that deal might not come together.
Exactly. I think we both probably seen that before, and it's a scary one when it happens.
I make sure they understand up front. If you get your mortgage approved, you sit very quietly on your spending.
Yeah.
To get a house.
So with the guarantor, you absolutely, the option may be there for you to buy a home. It may not be an issue whatsoever, but the important thing is to go review with someone. Chances are you guaranteed it because they needed your income on that. So it's really going to depend on your income and your debt load. But it's something easy to find out. It's not very hard. Anyone else want to tune on that one?
No, I think we're good there. We've got a few more flying in there.
Yeah. So other one we have here. So is it necessary to have 2 years experience in Nova Scotia to get a mortgage? Short answer is no. It's not always necessary to have 2 years experience. I think we have some people on the call who just spoke. Was it Evelyn? You said you bought a home a little sooner than that, didn't you?
Yeah. Yes.
So how quickly was your purchase?
Okay, so we did 35% down payment and went through private lender.
Yeah. So, and how many months were you in Canada before you completed your purchase?
We actually built, so within 3 months we were able to get.
Yeah.
Somebody
So there's a prime example. You have someone within 3 months making their home purchase. It's absolutely possible. The only thing lenders and banks have to make sure is that they have some sort of income supporting the purchase you make. As long as they're comfortable with that income and that supporting income, you can absolutely buy a home. So
and Stephen, in lieu of kind of income, if there's assets, that's also an option too. And again, if I'm talking at a school, you tell me, but it's income, assets is a big part of it.
It is. So there's same way as there's newcomer programs, there's specialized net worth lending programs as well. So if you did have a specific amount of net worth or specific amount of investments that you were bringing with you over to Canada or that you had set aside, a lot of times the bank can lend based on that net worth. So there's always a lot of options, but absolutely most of the people I've done mortgages with have purchased well before the 2-year mark. In fairness, you have up to 5 years. If you're operating your own business that you just started here in Canada, you might have to wait to that 2-year mark. But in most typical cases, you're able to do much sooner than that.
Good, really good. Maybe time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and if we don't get to them all, we'll certainly answer them to you. Because next steps from this is that we're going to send an email out to everyone with all of our experts' contact details, so that if you need to reach out and have a one-on-one, you'll be able to. I'd also encourage you, connect on LinkedIn. All of us are on LinkedIn, and it's another great way to just create relationships. LinkedIn is a really powerful tool. Sorry, Stephen.
No, it's no problem. So the next one I saw here is it possible for a PhD student to with a part-time job to buy a house or a condo? It is as well, but typically when I've seen that happen, it's not through a normal mortgage process. There's questions around whether you're in residency or not. If you're in residency, you have income, you can most likely do it with your residency dollars. I've seen people sometimes use, the fact is, if you're going to med school in Canada, you can get professional loans as well. And I've seen people buy homes with those and condos with those as well. So there are some options. And I know it sounds like the basic answer, but go speak to an expert. Everyone's situation is so unique. You even heard from those our three recent home buyers here a moment ago, with everyone having such unique situations, a lot of times there might be a platform or a way that might fit. So it's just important you get that reviewed for yourself.
Guys, if I may excuse myself,
Yeah.
I have another place I have to be. To everybody in Iran, Khudafis, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks. And I think on that note, we are going to call it because we're a couple minutes, just 1 minute over our time limit. And I just really wanted, on behalf of the entire team here, and wanted to thank you for your interest in Nova Scotia. Thank you for moving to Nova Scotia, and thank you for joining us here tonight. Hopefully this gave you some advice and some new friends. And if there's anything any of us can do to help make your journey, whether it be to buy a home or otherwise, please reach out. We'll be in touch. The winners, send me an email as mentioned, but we will send all the contact details out. And I want to thank our panel. I want to thank our experts, and a special thanks to Mercedeh, because I know she not only hosted, but she was able to actually put it out to a lot of her followers, and we really appreciate it. So have a wonderful night, and stay well, be well, and be kind. And thank you so much to everybody so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mercedeh. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night.